Hello, welcome back to Calm AF. Happy first day of October, the best month of the year, the best season of the year. We're finally in fall. It's still a little warmer than I would prefer, but it's okay. Dave and I went up to the mountains over the weekend and oh my gosh, it was just like blow your mind. I just couldn't, I was like, what? How are these trees that yellow? I don't get it. I said to Dave, I don't understand how anyone doesn't have fall as their favorite season. It just doesn't compute in my brain. It's stunningly beautiful. It's not 1,000 degrees out anymore. You can wear sweaters. That is my story about fall. That isn't Dave's story. Dave's favorite season isn't fall. So when I said that, he shared with me the reason why fall isn't the best season and why my story about it, like, it's not a cold, hard fact. It's an opinion. So whatever. Okay. Sure, Dave. But actually, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about stories, the stories that we believe, the stories that your brain is just running on autopilot, and why many of the stories are not taking you where you want to go. But first, I want to start by reading the love letter that inspired this episode. I sent this to my clients, my Calm AF members, my subscribers last week. And after I wrote it, I was like, I actually have more to say than the length of one of my love letters. So here we are. I'm going to start by reading you the love letter, and then we will dive into stories, why they matter so much, and how to change the stories that you might have that suck. We all have stories that suck, don't worry. Okay, here's the love letter. The stories you are telling yourself, about who you really are, and what you're capable of doing. The stories you're believing about your life, your luck, your worthiness, the stories you're believing about people you love and people you don't, the stories you are believing about your past and what that means for your present and your future. They're all just that, made up stories. They are not cold hard facts. They are interpretations of what you've observed. And so many of these interpretations didn't even start with you. They were handed to you from other people's interpretations. So maybe you noticed important people in your life really liked it when you were being good. And now you have a story that you always have to be good. The reason these stories feel true is only because whatever story you tell your brain to believe is what it will believe. Whatever you tell your brain to look for, it will find. Your brain will create a life that proves your stories true, which means the stories you're telling yourself matter a lot. And you are the only one who gets to decide what that story is. Write the story you want to read for the life that you want to live. All right, let's dive in. I am currently in the process of letting go of an old story, an old identity in my life, and I am stepping into a new one. I have been talking about this, out with the old and in with the new, for probably over a year now. And let me tell you, it's going exactly how I figured it would go, like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back when I'm lucky. And just at the end of August, I realized that I had backslid into my old story, my old identity. And what had happened was I said yes to a whole project. I completed it. And then realized I had said yes to it from my old story. And I realized it right at the last minute. Like, this is your old story. This is the thing you were getting rid of, and you just created it again. Yeah, it looks a little bit different, but you basically created the same thing. because I'm so close to really sinking into this new story, I decided I wanted to spend September bombarding my brain with reminders of my new story. I knew I had to make it fun and a little bit different, and I wanted some accountability in there. So I invited some clients, some subscribers to do an experiment with me in September. And I called it September, super creative. And there was a group of people who said yes. They're like, I don't know what this experiment is, but sure, I'm in. Since I was already experimenting, I decided to play around with Substack. I have been considering moving my love letters there. I just decided, let's just go for it. You've been talking about this Substack thing, go for it. So I sit down at my computer and go to the address bar to learn about Substack, and I type S into the browser, and my computer immediately takes me to my scheduler. But I didn't want to go to my scheduler. I wanted to go to Substack. So I went back to my address bar and I typed it in, Substack. And computer's like, oh, sorry, I took you to your scheduler. I just assumed that's where you wanted to go. And an hour later, I come back, I type S again, and my computer's like, scheduler, right? Scheduler, I got you. I know where you want to go. And I was like, no, actually, I don't want to go to my scheduler. I want to go to Substack. So I type it out again. This happened a lot on the first day or two. Every single time I typed S, my computer tried to take me to my scheduler. Not because it was judging me, not because the scheduler was the place I was meant to go. It was simply because that's where I had trained my computer to go when I typed S. Most of the time when I typed S up until then, I wanted to go to the scheduler. Here's the thing. Your brain works exactly the same way as my computer. Whatever you program it to do, it will start doing on autopilot. How many times in your life have you traveled down the neural pathway of an old story, like I'm not good enough, I have to work really hard. The only reason why people like me is because I fix their problems. How many times has someone asked you to do something that you know you don't want to do, and before you even have a conscious thought about it, your brain just automatically takes you to the P for people-pleasing story or U for unworthy story before you even realize what's happening. Your brain isn't stopping to check in with you. Like, do you want to? Let's stop and think about this. Let's just pause. I know this is someone very important. They asked you to do something, but let's just pause. It doesn't do that. It doesn't ask you, hey, do we actually want to say yes to this? It's just like, I got this. People pleasing. Let's go. Most efficient route. Don't even have to think about it. And then you wind up saying yes when you meant to say no. You wind up working twice as hard because your brain took you to that old familiar story that everything is harder for you. You wind up in the same patterns, perfectionism, overachieving, being good no matter what, because these are your frequent flyer neural pathways. These are the stories that you've told your brain to believe over and over and over. All this means is that if you want your brain to change where it takes you on autopilot, you have to create a new story and then choose it again and again and again. You have to rewire a new neural pathway and just keep traveling that pathway over and over and over. Rewiring your brain is not a mystery any more than my computer taking me to my scheduler instead of Substack is a mystery. It's just doing what I programmed it to do. I needed to be persistent so that eventually my computer would learn when she types S, I take her to Substack. This is what you have to do with your brain. You have to be persistent, consistent, repetitive. You just keep showing up to the pathway that you want to hardwire until it becomes the efficient pathway. That's it. That's rewiring. The brain is not judging or holding grudges. It's a computer that will do what you tell it to do. So back to my computer. When I would type S, it would take me to scheduler. And every time it happened, I didn't freak out. I wasn't like, welp, I guess I just live here now. I guess I'm not meant to do Substack. This must be a sign. I just have to live on my scheduler website forever. No, it's not a sign. It was just my computer brain doing what it does. So instead of making it a big freaking deal, I would just say, oops, and I would go back to the address bar and type Substack. I am not a victim of my computer. It doesn't tell me where to go. I tell it where to go. And it's the same with our brains. If there is a story pathway that is very, very efficient and you want to change it, you have to be relentlessly committed to saying, wait, not hard. I don't want to travel the everything is really hard for me and life is so hard for me and nothing I've ever done works for me pathway. I don't want that pathway. Not H for hard, H for happy. I want H for happy. And your computer brain will be like, oh, cool, sure. You're just going to have to type it in a bunch. Eventually, after a few days of me repeatedly typing Substack, my computer started to learn. Now, at the end of September, when I type S, my computer's like, Substack, right? And I'm like, yeah, and we high five. Your brain will do what you tell it to do. It just needs to be bombarded with reminders. Because these old pathways, because they're so efficient, are still going to be the ones that your brain tries to pull you to, especially on days when you're tired, when you're stressed, when life is lifing at 100%. You have to be paying attention. You have to deliberately choose that story on purpose. This is where people go sideways because you think, oh, I really want to be happy. I don't want my life to feel so hard anymore, so I'm going to be that now. No, you're not. And it's not because something's wrong with you. It's because you have a really efficient brain. This is where my clients needed more support. That's why I started writing the daily love letters. How are you going to account for the days when you're tired and your brain's like, dude, let's just go to the scheduler? How are you going to account for bad days when your teenage brain shows up? It's like, this story about being happy is dumb. Nice try, but look at all the hard things. There's hard shit everywhere. Everyone's making my life hard. Partner's got an attitude. My kid's being a shit. There's 8,000 things on my to-do list. I haven't slept in 3 years. Hard pathway. That is where we live. Get in, bitches. We're going on the hard pathway. This is why you need reminders. This is why repetition matters. This is why consistency is everything. Because as much as we think we really, really want to break our old patterns, life often feels more urgent. And you have spent most of your life believing that other people's urgency is more important than you. You have to be relentless in waking up every morning and choosing the path you want to travel, choosing the story that you want to read for the life that you want to live. You get to decide what the story is, but don't count on your brain to take you there. It won't. You have to remind it every day. And then one day you will wake up and be like, oh, that thing that used to be so hard for me isn't hard anymore. That's how it works. That's rewiring. I've been writing these daily love letters since 2014 because I knew I had to fill the gap between the moments where my clients were like, yes, I'm worthy. I need to set boundaries. And then 20 minutes later, getting a call from their boss and dropping everything. I wanted them to start their day anchored in love, anchored in self-worth, with a reminder that they can either choose to start their day in the driver's seat or get tossed around in the back. Because you might believe you've got this today, but give it a minute and your nervous system will be like, I think she meant hard story, not happy story. Your brain will do what you tell it to do. You just have to remember to tell it. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, where's it taking you? And more importantly, is that where you want to go? You want those reminders bombarded, the daily love letter in your inbox. There's a link in the show notes. But either way, I want you to know this. You are not powerless to your thoughts. You are not a victim of your past or your future or your stories. You just have a really efficient brain. And efficiency can be retrained with the story you want to read for the life you want to live. All right, go enjoy this beautiful, best month of the whole year, best season of the whole year, October. I'll see you next week.